Welcome back everyone to the ultimate guide to Blender 3D rigging and animation, and this is where we left it off. So we're actually on our actual pumpkin. Now I'm going to actually click on my pumpkin and we're going to show you two things with this actual, maybe two lessons. We might get it done in one, but we'll see. What I'm basically going to show you is how to actually use shape keys in your animation, and also how we can actually use colors, so we can actually change shaders as well with animation. So the first thing I want to do is I want to come over to my little triangle here, and basically you can see we've got one that says shape keys here. Now I'm going to click 1+, and I'm going to click it again and again. Now the first one we never actually touch, so we never actually touch that one at all. We just leave it. It's basically like the root bone. In this case it's the root shape key. The next one we're going to do is we're going to have seed, so we'll call it seed. And then finally, we'll call the last one pumpkin, like so. All right, so let's first of all come to the seed one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and turn this into a pumpkin seed. So if you've got an image or something, I will put an image down on the bottom right-hand side here of what an actual pumpkin, growth actually looks like. And you'll see it's kind of really thin and small and kind of comes off of an actual a vine or something like that. So, and then it gets heavier and heavier. Finally, it goes down onto the floor, and then it has those, really broad pots of the pumpkin that actually come out. And when it first starts off as well, the actual pumpkin is green, it's not orange. So we also need to take that into account. All right, so what we'll do is we'll press tab. So we've got this one selected in our shape keys. We're going to press tab. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to change this. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to press Alt, Shift and click, and that then is going to give me a line going all the way around there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put proportional editing on, and then I'm going to actually try and turn this now into more of a seed. So you can see now I've got it like this. I'm going to pull it down like so. And you can see now it's looking a lot more seed-like than where it was. I'm also going to make this a bit thinner as well. Now you can actually, just grab one face and you can bring it in as long as you're careful with it. So you can bring it in like so. And don't worry about anything at all apart from the fact that you really don't want to break the mesh. So you're not going to worry too much about the shape. All right, so that's pretty nice. You can see now when I press tab, it basically bounces back to what we had it before. And why is that? Well, what you've actually done now is you've actually created a shape key where now you can actually go in and move this on the fly. So for instance, if I've got my seed selected now and I come to value, you can see that I can change it into the actual seed, which is really, really great. Okay, so now we've got that. Now we want to make the actual pumpkin. So let's come to the actual pumpkin part. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in this time with edge select, Alt Shift and click, and just grab a few of these edges going round like so, like so, like so, and maybe like so, something like that. Still with proportional editing on now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them in now like so, press the tab button, and now what I can do is I can actually bring this up and change it into my actual pumpkin with, those kind of, those lumps that you see on pumpkins, so it actually looks a little bit more like it. Now, the one thing I want to do also, I just want to put this back again. I want to go back into it, and what I want to do is I just want to bring this in. So I can actually press Control R. I can't actually bring it in from there, as you can see. So for some reason, that's not actually working. But what I can do instead of that is I can grab all of these going around. So I'm going to press C to grab them all. So C in the middle. And then all I'm going to do is just press I and bring them in like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull them in. So I'm going to pull them in like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check that out now. So if I bring that up, and there we go. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Normally, they would have some sort of stem on here. This one hasn't got it on just to keep it simple for you. But you can see now that's exactly what we're looking for. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to put this back to 0 again. So we have the basis of our pumpkin. Now, let's put the timeline over something like 300. We don't want it too long. We want it just long enough so we can actually learn something. And then what I want to do is I want to put this onto 0. No, not 0, sorry, 1. Always on 1. Let's then go to the shading panel. So you'll see that in the shading panel, we've got everything set up in here. It doesn't really matter what, most of these can actually be edited. So you can edit your... What I mean by edited is, you can actually insert a keyframe on most of these. So just take that into account. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to pull this over to the side, and I actually want to just bring in a timeline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this down arrow. I'm going to come over and bring in my timeline. And now you can see that basically we can see our timeline, so we can move this backwards and forwards in the actual shadings panel, which is exactly what I want to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this first of all on 300. So if we can't click it, just remember, just type it in here, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my hue, my saturation, my value, and my FAC. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press I, and I, like so. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back then to 0, like so. And now what I want to do is I actually want to make this a color which would be the seed. So for instance, it's quite a blue, a greenish color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess around, click it up one, and then you've got your green. Now I do want to lower the saturation of this, and I also want to lower the FAC a little bit. So bring it down, bring the saturation down, and just play around with it until you're happy with how your seed is going to look. So I'm just trying to, I think something like that. I'm just going to take it up one, maybe something like that. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. So this kind of deep green color. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down, I'm going to press I, and I, like so. And now what should happen is, as I move along, you will see that this will change from this nice green color to an orange color. So if I press spacebar now, you'll see it starting to change. And eventually, it should become that beautiful orange color of pumpkins. And there you go. There is the orange color. Now, we can also go in, if we're not happy with the color in the middle, which I'm kind of not, and basically turn it to any color that we want. So I'm just going to bring the saturation down. I'm going to also pull this down a little bit and just mess around. I'm not going to actually mess around with the value because that's really messing it up. I'm going to bring the hue down to 0.55 maybe. Let's try that. Let's try bringing the saturation up a little bit, like so. And let's mess around with this value. Yeah, something like that. And then again, I, and I. And let's give that another try. So from here, it should get to the middle now and go to the color that I picked. It shouldn't be too bright of a green because that's not what I wanted. It should go to this greenish color, a bit like potato, and then actually turn into this really nice orange color that we're actually looking for. All right, so there you go. That's that part done. Now what we can do is we can go back to our layout. And what we want to do is we want to put this onto 1. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm making it smaller from this part here. So what I want to do is click on the little sideways V again, come to 3D cursor. And what I want to do is I want to, first of all, I need to put this on 300, like so. And we'll do the end part first because that's the easiest part. So what I want to do is I want to turn this up. So if I turn this up through here, and then what I can do is I can hover over this value, I can press I, and then what I can do is I can come back into my viewport, I can press I, location, rotation, and scale. All right, so now let's come back to 1. And now we want to basically make this into the seed. So what I want to do is I want to make it smaller. So if I make it smaller, you'll notice because we've made it smaller from that point, it gets smaller from here, like so. And then we'll start off at that size. We've got automatic on, so just remember that you've got this on. I mean, it should be okay on this part here, but just remember if you've got that on, just to turn that off if you don't want it on. Now what I want to do is I want to turn the pumpkin, so this part here, all the way down. So I'm going to turn it all the way down. I'm going to press I, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my seed. I'm going to turn this all the way up, like so. I'm going to press I, like so. All right, so now let's see where we are. So if I press spacebar now, we can see it starts getting bigger. Bigger, bigger, bigger. And you can see we have a problem. And the reason is for that is because we need our seed to change as we come up. So in other words, once we get to around about here, like so, we need our seed on this one to actually change. So if I put this down to 0 now, press the I button, and then as we come up now, you can see that it gets bigger, then it starts to come out. Now, I don't like the fact that it starts coming out here because normally pumpkins, they grow really, really fat, and then these kind of things come out. So we want to go back to our pumpkin now, put this down to 0 and press the I button. And now you'll see that as I come in and press spacebar, starts to get bigger, changes to this really round thick pumpkin. And then we start to have it where it actually starts to bulge out like so. So there you go. That is a way that you can actually create pumpkins. Now, I know there is more to it than that, which you could do with it. Instead of it actually getting bigger in that kind of way, you could use shape keys to actually enlarge it, which would probably look a lot more realistic than it just kind of growing from this part like so. It doesn't look very realistic at the moment. It needs to kind of topple over as well and move a little bit to get that realism in there and things like that. But this is basic shape keys in a nutshell, and I think actually you should have learned a lot from this actual part of the course. All right, everyone, so I hope you enjoyed that. What we'll do now is we'll just close that down, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to open this one up, and we're going to actually create some multiple bones in this, which are going to be rotating around. All right, everyone, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.